Welcome to the PowettPlay podcast, where international cricketer Kieran, Powell and marketing genius Shannon join forces, bringing you captivating conversations with the biggest players in cricket and business. Join us as we dive into the lives of current stars in the cricketing world, the legends before them, and those extraordinary icons whose performances changed the game in both cricket and business. Exploring journeys both on and off the pitch, the boardroom, and everything in between. Get ready for an exhilarating blend of cricket, life, and business insights, with two insatiably passionate, infuriatingly no-holds-barred hosts, who, unfortunately for the rest of us, live and breathe this stuff for a living.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 57 of the PowettPlay podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Shannon, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kieran Powell. How are you, Kai?
I'm not bad. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. The nights are getting a little bit lighter over here, so the grimness of the winter is hopefully not too far away.
That's always good to hear.
No, we got plenty to talk about tonight, and I want to sort of get stuck in with the new, with Steve Smith. Really, I think it's a perfect talking point in reaching 10,000 runs and getting there in true style with a big century.
It's always fitting when someone gets to like that type of landmark with a century or a score noteworthy of celebration as well. So I think that's obviously commendable for him. I think that he's definitely had a change in form of recent time. He's reinvigorated. You look at the India series, he got 2 centuries. The Big Bash, he got a century. No, he's got a century. So I mean, I'm in a signs for bowling attacks around the world at this point.
Definitely. And you know what? It's quite an interesting point you mentioned there. You talked about his score in the Big Bash. Both him and Joe Root have been two people who've been talked about in terms of the T20 sort of style. And every time it's been in conversation, it's always been discussed about them two playing this anchor role and all this sort of stuff. And they've both gone and shown with Joe Root in South Africa and obviously Steve Smith with the Big Bash is that they'll be as ultra aggressive as anybody else in world cricket.
I mean, these are two class operators, like they're of the highest level. I think if anyone thinks that they can't, as opposed to they just not had the opportunity to, those are two different things. They've been asked to play certain roles. Now that the game has evolved to a point where pretty much no one plays an anchor role anymore, then they've just fully opened up their games. But it's not that they don't have the ability to. I think Steve Smith, in his past 4 Big Bash matches, he's got something like 3 centuries or something. Every time he goes back to play, he scores a century, basically. And obviously Joe Root, I mean, the last time he played for England in a T20, I think it was T20 World Cup, and he was MVP of the tournament. Never to be seen again. So,
no.
I mean, as I said, we're talking about two of the highest quality operators that the game has ever seen, and they're putting on a show across the world at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the way that both of their careers is going as well is it's the direction in terms of, can Steve Smith overtake Ricky Ponting's record, and obviously potentially where does that lead to, and then obviously the ever constant conversation in terms of will Joe Root catch, get Sachin's record. So I'm interested to get your opinion whether that's, we have discussed about it being possible and stuff, but what do you think of whether Steve Smith could get to Ponting's record or not?
I just started looking at it last night. I don't think that he will get to Ricky's run tally. I don't know that he wants to play that long.
Yeah.
But I definitely do think that he can get to the century scores. I think Ricky's got 41 centuries. Steve Smith's now on 35.
There's 10 different. Yeah.
Yeah, he's now on 35. So you look at what he's got coming up for the rest of the year. He's got another test here in Sri Lanka, which chances are, if he gets in, he will go big again. That's 36. And then you're just looking at if he can get 1 or 2 in the Caribbean, 1 or 2 in the Ashes World Test Championship, he's knocking on the door. I mean, as much as we're celebrating 10,000 runs, 11,000 seems pretty close, but when you do the math
When
and
you
the
break
amount
it
of
down.
matches and the amount of matches he has coming up.
Yeah.
Same thing for Joe Root. I think with Joe Root now it's more gonna be, I guess, once it gets touching distance towards Sachin's record, the pressure, the anxiety, the press,
Yeah.
form, how much can he sustain this for? How long does he have to play for to get there? The consistency. I think obviously we have to sort of cater in for maybe any little spell of bad form and how much that will have an impact on him at this age and stage of his career, as opposed to him being a young a young guy. But I think it's absolutely phenomenal that we're actually even in a position to see someone
Yeah.
challenge the type of runs that Sachin Tendulkar has scored. But kudos to him. That shows the quality of player he is. And it's also good in a sense that England plays more than enough cricket. So this is something that we can have a debate about and keep it alive because he does have an opportunity to do so from the amount of games available to him from that standpoint. So that's great as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of will depend on his success, the potential success he might have in Australia, and that's not based on. I'm not saying that he'll score that many runs; it'll make it achievable. But what I mean by that is, if he was to have a bad series, I think he might think about what is it the right time now to walk away. So I think that the next 12 months is a massive period of time for whether he can actually go and do that, and hopefully from an England perspective, he goes down under just smashing, and then obviously then he goes and chases that landmark feat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for someone that's played that many matches, for someone that scored that many runs, that many centuries. He still doesn't have a century in Australia, on Australian soil. And obviously, England's biggest and most consistent series is the Ashes. So, he would have probably played in at least three, four Ashes in Australia by now.
Yeah,
So I can definitely understand what you're saying from that vantage point in terms of the pressure on him to go and do it in Australia, go and show us that you can do it there. You've pretty much done it everywhere else. That's the last thing left, the last frontier left for you to conquer.
yeah,
Having said that, the Australian bowling attack, I think this will probably be their last
yeah,
Ashes at home together, this iteration of it anyway. And so they will want to go out with a high. I mean, you look at Josh Hazelwood, who's been pretty much injured for quite some time. He's going to want to have a
yeah,
full Ashes summer. You've got Scott Boland. That how do you not play him in Australia? And obviously you've got Stark and Cummins along with Lyons. So I mean,
yeah,
they're pretty much all right, raring to go.
yeah, definitely. Staying with Test cricket, what did you make of the West Indies' performance? Well, both against, but the two Test matches against Pakistan.
I think that it's something that's becoming not that much of a surprise now when you look at West Indies winning overseas games. I think when you look at it, every time that they've had proper preparation for an overseas tour,
Yeah,
you always find that coming on towards the second test match. And obviously, if there's a third test match, like there was in England, then they start competing
yeah,
better, they start performing better, they start getting to grips with those conditions. So I think that Cricket West Indies really needs to, I mean, assess and evaluate what happens pre where they're able to perform at this level and get them to that level to start a series. I think that obviously people have been saying there's so much lack of talent or drain of talent in the West Indies.
yeah,
Um, Test cricketing coffers at the moment, but I mean to go away and win in Australia, to go away and win in Pakistan, they've won in Bangladesh, they've won a few places, mind you. I still 100% think that the captaincy needs to be changed. I don't
yeah,
think that Craig is inspirational um, to to anyone. I think that more so than anything, he's probably had the best bowling attack that the West Indies have had for quite some time now. When you look back to even the generations of the Chris Gales and the Sawans, the Shipman Shandapals. I think that the current iteration of the West Indies fast bowling
Yeah,
lineup, I think that they can do some real damage with Seals' skill.
yeah, big time.
Shamar Joseph, Kimar Roach, seems to be aging well, still a valuable contributor. You've got Alzari Joseph as well.
Yeah,
And obviously, I think that another learning point that they can take is Jomel Warrican has been playing league cricket in the UK now for 3, 4 summers in a row.
yeah. He played in the Lancashire League. Well, interestingly, actually, he played in the Lancashire League 2 seasons ago and shared the season with Tajid Khan. So, which is quite interesting and that goes to show where your trajectory you can take, and it's hard work, dedication, and sort of playing your trade. And that just sorry, skipping completely. That's why I thought it was brilliant to see Jermaine Blackwood score a century yesterday, because you like to see that someone who's been dropped and he's gone away, he's worked hard, and to see someone achieve it's a big thing. So yeah, sorry to
Exactly.
dive in with that.
No, no. I was actually going to touch on that point as well because that's someone that got dropped, went away, understood that, he wanted to continue playing cricket. He
Yeah,
wanted to put himself in the best position possible. And he sacrificed and went and played league cricket,
yeah,
that he week in, week out, working on your game,
yeah.
playing games, 2, 3 games per week. Um, I've just checked the scores and I've seen that he's been bowling and he's got 3 wickets as well. Now I think
Right.
that's comical. I think that's comical because there's no way in hell Jermaine Blackwood should be getting anybody out.
But the
But
thing
he
is with that
did do a
though,
lot of bowling in league
yeah,
cricket as well.
exactly. I'm
So
sure it took like
if
60 odd wickets or something over here.
exactly. So
Yeah,
if you continue to work on your craft and you go back home, you continue practicing,
that's
that
it.
helps with his fitness as well. That helps with his concentration, and that makes him a more valuable contributor to a team as well.
Massively. It's a confidence thing as well. And I think I've always found from an all-rounders perspective, they always talk about, when you're in the runs, you seem to be in the wickets and vice versa. And when your form drops with a bat, it does have an impact on the ball, and you do have both opportunities to pick up that confidence. So it is great. It's good to see. And your point there about Jomel Warrican, do you think he now is ahead of Gudakesh Moti then in terms of the number one spinner?
I think at this point in time, yes. Obviously, his last 2 series would have been 2 very strong series. I
Yeah,
think that what's happened to Moti is something that I talk about with Alzari Joseph a lot as well, in the fact that
I know what
they
you're saying.
played that much white ball cricket.
Yeah,
So the demands of white ball cricket don't allow you to just easily transfer back to the requirements of
no,
Test cricket, like lines and lengths
yeah,
necessary. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that's more so it than anything. I think also what was required in Pakistan in terms of bowling that much slower, and just being consistent,
yeah,
is something that because Warwick only plays red ball cricket,
yeah,
he pretty much had a better feel on making an adjustment quicker in terms of what was necessary, in terms of pace. And I think both of them pretty much have always been pretty consistent. It's probably the first time I've seen Moti not be as consistent as he
yeah,
usually is. But I mean, 2 of them still were the leading wicket takers
yeah.
and the leading run scorers of the
Which is
series.
well, yeah, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous, but um, you know, I don't know how you can they can be leading run scorers, but they need to address that quite sharpish.
I think there's going to be some interesting changes to come for the test series. I'll tell you what, this is something we should do every Sunday.
Right,
We're going to do a recap of um, the round of 4-day games just gone,
right, okay,
and and pick a team of the tournament
right,
based on each round of the 4-day season, because I think that they're going to be you're going to have to be a very strong performer. For me, if you're selecting batters, it has to be a very high price for them to get into the team. So I'm going to require everyone to average over 50 to be in consideration with at least 2 centuries. If you're selecting spinners, because the quality of the pitches are that bad in the Caribbean, you're going to have to average 20 and below
Right. Okay.
with at least 3 to 4 5 wicket hauls. And it's 7 games, seven. I'm
When's it stretching from? So
expecting
we started now, and when does it stretch to?
the season ends in
April.
April, I think. Yeah.
April. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
because there are a
Okay.
few breaks in between. So
Yeah.
7 games for spinners. I'm expecting them to get over 40 wickets. A seam bowler, I'm expecting them to average below 25. And that would be my criteria for guys wanting to get into the West Indies team. Because obviously I mean we Sammy's been made the coach. We know that there's gonna be a few white ball players coming back, are coming into the fold. Who those are, what positions those take. I think predominantly the batting spots.
Yeah. 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 With that in mind, you mentioned there about preparation leading into well, across the series that the West Indies play. So, how do the current, and we'll say current because that's all we can base it on, so the current squad of West Indies Test cricketers get in the best possible preparation before the series against Australia? Is it playing every 4-day championship game?
I mean, honestly speaking, even if they play every 4-day game, I'm not sure that that's going to be the best possible preparation for them because the 4-day season ends in April, whereas these test matches are in July. So what happens between,
Is it July? Yeah, I thought it might have been
yeah,
June.
yeah, I think
Right.
end of June, July. So what
Yeah.
happens between April, end of June, July? I think and again, just being outside the box here, I'd pretty much look at guys in and around the team already and pick a very strong team from guys you think that you want to get involved in the team and the top performers
Yeah.
from the 4-day season and play 2, 3, 4-day games. Get guys firing, get competition at
Yeah.
its highest and get people fit and firing for for that
Yeah.
series.
Similar to when I remember you playing in the Weeks Headley sort of like
Yeah.
tri-series thing that they did. Because I was thinking then that there's going to be some of the players who then come over on the England tour, which is May and June, and then obviously some of which will go back, and ultimately the ones that Sammy picks from the white ball will come and obviously play in that series. But you're absolutely right in terms of that filling in that gap. There needs to be some thought process in terms of maintaining the players ticking over because 2 months difference in terms of the series, the 4-day championship started and then there needs to be something there because you're playing the best team in the world. Um, so, it's the biggest test, and this is what, from a player perspective, this is what you should be looking to it's your biggest challenge. From a batting perspective, you're facing, as you mentioned, the quicks we've discussed, and from a bowler's perspective, you're going to be bowling at the likes of Steve Smith, who we discussed, and the top players. So they want to be getting that preparation in, and hopefully, Cricket West Indies do provide that, rather than it's just a case of yeah, we'll see you for the camp that starts a week before the series starts.
Exactly. I don't think this can be a 1 week or 10-day camp. As you
No.
said, you're playing against the best team in the world.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, guys should be doing their own fitness training, etc.,
Yeah.
coming into it. But I'd like to see at least two high intensity practice 4-day type games,
Yeah.
first class status, stats on the line type preparation going into this. Your best bowlers bowling at your best batters, um, and make it really competitive. Don't let guys sort of sit on their laurels because I think that will prepare people properly.
Yeah.
And make it fair in the sense that you're not coming in with a pre-selected team, so guys don't want to put in that effort. Like make
Yeah.
it a blank slate where there's no team selected. Your spot's up for grabs here
It's
because
up
pretty
top.
much all the batters that went to Bangladesh can be dropped if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really wanted to.
Yeah,
So make it a tough competition and
yeah,
let guys go out and perform against each other.
yeah, definitely. And I think that you said there, that's the way you want it to be because you also you end up building that mentality from a mental perspective of strength and showing that sort of like mental resistance to get through it. Because like I said, with this challenge ahead of Australia, it's going to be about mental resilience and showing strength and digging in. So if you start to encourage that leading into it, you are creating this positive mentality approach and like a bit of a like I said, the competition is what you want. You want competition for your places. It brings out the best in these people, and ultimately that's going to benefit, West Indies cricket, overall. Going back to the 4-day championship, it's been in my mind since you're talking there about having this conversation about picking a team of the week, etc. Now, truthfully, you mentioned there about your criteria, and I think your criteria is spot on. Do you see do you see that being achievable though? Actually reaching the criteria in terms of what you mentioned there about averages and stuff? Or is that going to highlight issues that's there?
Because the pitches are that bad, the top spinners in the Caribbean will achieve averaging less than 20. For example, Joshua Bishop just got
Seven, yes,
for
yeah,
7 for 80 in the first innings of the season.
yeah,
So if he's doing that when the pitches are fresh, he is probably primed for 50 wickets here.
yeah.
Um, we all know what Moti, Permal, Warrican, Jimbo,
Jimbo will do, yeah,
these guys, we all know what they're gonna do. So they're primed for less than 20. Um, the top seamers averaging below 25, that would be interesting to see.
yeah,
Because you have to also be realistic in the fact that if people are saying that the standard of the cricket in the Caribbean isn't high, then you have to set high expectations, high benchmarks, because then once you transfer a spinner averaging sub 20 in regional cricket, what does that equate to on the international stage
yeah,
against Australia? Once you translate a batter averaging 50 plus in a regional first class season, what does that translate to
yeah,
on the international stage? How much is that equivalent to?
yeah,
You want to see batters getting at least 2 centuries because guys have to show you that they have the ability and the aptitude to bat for long in different situations, different conditions. You want guys to be getting 600 plus runs because you want guys to show you consistency
yeah,
over the course of a series. So these are and that's why my benchmarks or my metrics are skewed towards those figures because you have to have some sort of higher level of performance that can be then translated to international cricket because it will be brought down in terms of what it represents in the international game. I mean, we look at most recent performers in regional cricket and what they have then sort of, I guess, translated to an international cricket, then
yeah,
you understand that the performances have to be of an elevated nature.
yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking there from a performance perspective in how do you help do you know what? The more you think about it, is the more how imperative it will actually be to have to fill that gap after the 4-day championship before that series. Because if you get you agree, so you're saying there you get people players who reach the criteria you've mentioned there, so they've got 2 or 3, 4 centuries over their 7-game period, so 7-game period, and then you don't do anything in between that period of time from a camp perspective or however you want to go about it. I don't. If they one the Cricket West Indies will have to make the change. So one will have to bring that player in. Now that could be a debutant. That could be somebody who's been out the international team for a period of time. That preparation then for that player, they're already up against it from a challenge perspective across the board. So the more I think about this is the more that they need to come out with this plan after the planned gap, say sooner rather than later, to help the players out as well in terms of their preparation leading into it. Because if they was to come out and say we're going to be doing this tri-series or however you want to do it, where they, they incorporate the academy as they did do previously, then it also gives the players who've got that. It's a carrot. It's a dangling the carrot in front of them to think, right, okay, well, if I do have a good, a good championship, it could lead to that, which then leads to that. It's a nice path, and you can see that, and it keeps the players motivated. And as we've discussed many a time here, it the distraction of the T20 franchise situation, it might not necessarily be at the forefront of their mind. What they might be focused on at the minute is getting and representing the West Indies at Test cricket. I just hope again, as we discussed so many times on here, I hope they take things like that on board and understand the importance of the pre-planning aspect to it. So
I think what would be interesting, because that's before that is sort of that IPL PSL window.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
so that's pretty much that period where most of world cricket shuts down.
yeah,
So if realistically they said after the season they'll give guys 2 weeks off, sort of just to relax, decompress from the season, and
yeah,
then everyone comes to Antigua, everyone that's going to be in contention for the series comes to
yeah,
Antigua for a month-long camp, and it's just rigorous preparation,
yeah, high intensity.
high intensity, knowing where they're going to play the matches, and preparing for those specific pitches.
Yeah,
I think they have every chance. I'm not saying that they're going to win the series. Australia's the best team in the world for a reason, but we have a bowling lineup that allows us to be competitive as well. We have
yeah,
probably just as good a bowling lineup as anyone in the world at this point with the fast bowlers that we have.
yeah,
So it's just to get the batters up and running.
yeah. No, I agree, and I know on the last podcast we discussed about your idea around structure and how to make it work, and taking a little bit of that into it here is where the structure and the planning process really comes into it when you've got these windows from franchise cricket and obviously then into the international cricket. I know we've talked about maximizing it and how allow from a revenue perspective, but this is where that pre-planning and that structure comes into it because it does allow these windows to take place. So you can do training camps and you can, you look at your player development and you look at integrating the coaches. So automatically you're developing more than just the playing squad. You talk about bringing coaches in and stuff like that. So as an overall development for, we're not just talking West Indies cricket here. It's all about development for world cricket. These windows will help countries plan for future and bits and pieces like that, really. You look at, I always like to keep an eye on like England Lions are playing Australia A at the minute, and it always gives you that really good sort of snippet of people, progressing and stuff. And there was a great story with Rocky Flintoff scoring a century, last week, and he beat his dad's record as the youngest person to score a century for England A/Lions, and I want to see more of that as across A teams and there you want to see that it gives that player pathway and it gives a real good opportunity for opportunity full stop really.
I think that's another interesting point, Jordan. If they don't, I guess, want to do a camp as we're suggesting, they can sort of do a 4-match A-team series against someone, bring them to the
Somebody could,
Caribbean.
yeah,
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 bring someone to the Caribbean, and you just have your main players swapping in and out
yeah,
depending on who you want. You're looking at
yeah,
different combinations. Everyone gets 2 games, whether it be first and third, first and second, third and fourth, however you want to mix and match it. But people are going in with match preparation.
yeah. That's it. Whoever, like you said, you mentioned there. I'm sure there's not many people who turn down a phone call to go to the Caribbean to play cricket for 2 weeks. Put it that way. Um, in whichever whoever that would be, it could be New Zealand, for instance, or whoever. It's not just the benefit that would have for the West Indian players to have this game. The benefit it would be for them for New Zealand to bring a squad over of their emerging talent, and that could be somebody at 16, 17 who's got this pathway of bridging between the domestic scene in and also the international. And that's why it's always the benefits of being for these A tours and the Lions and the various bits have always been that little bridge between domestic cricket and international cricket. So I think there should be ways of making that work. And the gap that you mentioned there it's a perfect example for that to happen. Who's to say Australia A don't take a provisional a provisional squad over, and some of the players can feature in that. Because I remember when we spoke to Otis, quite a few months ago, and we spoke about when teams used to tour and stuff, and the bigger picture. I know obviously times changed a lot, but the benefits of obviously the touring parties and things, there's lots of positives to it. It's just about the pre-planning and using the window and the structure to benefit, whoever that would be.
Yeah, 100%. It'll just be interesting to see what they do, but more so interesting to see um, who performs this season,
Yeah.
and also interesting to see what white ball players make themselves available for West Indies and 4-day cricket.
So with that in mind, who are you looking to? Who can you see having big campaigns then for? Who can you see standing out in this 4-day championship?
Interesting. I am I'm quite big on Kevin Wickham from Barbados.
Right. Okay.
I think that he's probably um, not ready at the moment, but I think that he'll be a good player. He understands the game, like he's very street smart. I
Right.
think
Okay.
he's probably another season and a half away from being
Right.
ready. I think that it's been good that he's not been sort of rushed into the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quite big on Kevlon Anderson from Guyana.
Right. Okay.
Another street smart player. I think that he as well understands his game. Doesn't try and do too much outside of that. Obviously Joel Andrews Young. He's someone I want to see get an opportunity to score runs consistently, get a few centuries, try and get 2, 3 centuries this season, follow that up with a season of 2, 3 centuries again.
Yeah.
Start understanding how to score runs, building that confidence. And he's only 18 years old, so he's got plenty of time. I think an interesting one that I've got sort of a left field box is Shakir Paris that's playing for CCC.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had like a brief look at him in the CPL. Obviously play with him in the Super 50. It'd be interesting to see how he goes in 4-day cricket. I think that he's someone that probably should have been in the West Indies Academy, given that he's still so young and
Yeah.
his talent level. I think that he's someone that should be nurtured. But these are all very young guys in terms
Yeah.
of um, I guess more seasoned guys. I'm not sure, obviously, what Sammy's looking for. For me, I would, I wouldn't mind seeing someone like an Evan Lewis play
Right.
4-day cricket. I think that would be an interesting addition. I wouldn't mind seeing someone like a Sherfane Rutherford.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Kyle Mayers back in the fold. I don't know what's happening there or what's happened there.
Yeah.
Um, so those are people that I'd like to see in and around making themselves viable options for Test cricket, but left to be seen over time.
Yeah. No, I enjoy getting your insights from that perspective, especially with you playing against them, and also you mentioned about sharing it with Shaquille Paris as well there, so that is interesting. Um, yeah, I think we've had a good look back on some of the interesting topics that have taken place, and is there anything else you want to touch over?
I think for now that's it. Obviously, always in a good mood when Steve Smith scores runs. So I think Usman Khawaja has
Oh
has
yeah,
bounced back brilliantly
superb. I was so happy for him.
from that series. As he said, he got boomered, and he showed that he got boomered by coming and first opportunity against someone not boomer, scoring his career best at 38 years of age. So no
Yeah, I was chuffed
kudos
a
to
bit.
him. Yeah.
Yes, especially given that I read in a bit of an article comparing 10 years ago, or his first. I'm not 10. Anyway, I don't know how long ago it was, but basically saying he couldn't play spin on on the continent and stuff, and to go and do that off the back of his series he had against India, I thought it's good to see. We mentioned there about people who take it and work hard. It's good to see. You want to see successes like that. People who take show that hard work and determination will lead to success. And I think it was good to see, and I was chuffed to bits for him, especially. He was now the oldest double centurion in Australian history. I think it is actually.
Yeah, I think that's something like his seventh century on the subcontinent now, which is an amazing turnaround, as you said, for someone
Yeah.
that wasn't able to play spin. And I think more importantly for me, it was just good to see him tick off that double century mark, because
Yeah.
I know they declared he was 195 not out, and rain had affected the match, so they had to bowl to try and win the game. There wasn't enough time, but to see him be able get to that double century, 16 test centuries now,
Yeah.
coming up to 6,000 runs, averaging over 50 as an opener. I think it's hell of a comeback. You can't put into words what he's done for stabilizing that top order for the Australian team, knowing that Warner was pretty much on the way out as well. So they would have really appreciated his contributions over the past 3-4 years.
Big time, because you look at filling the Warner gap, which you spoke about loads, to fill them, to find two openers. And you look at the I'm not the Sam Constas and the McSweeney situation that they both had. If they didn't have Usman at that point, it could have been a recipe for disaster, really, in terms of being with the situation, with Bummer opening the bowling and having for two newbies facing it, could have been a completely different story. I'm not saying that Usman made a massive difference. Well, he did, in my opinion, because of what he offered in that stability perspective, really. So, I was chuffed to bits for him. And he used to say, he could do it again in the second innings. I don't think they'll bat again. I don't think Australia, but that's so we'll see what happens.
Chances are very slim that they'll have to bat again.
No, definitely. I can't see it. So yeah, excellent guy. Nice one, mate.
Cheers, Jordan. It's been great speaking.
Thank you for joining us on the PowettPlay podcast, hosted by Kieran Powell and Jordan Shannon. We hope you enjoyed this immersive dive into the world of cricket and business, exploring the unique experiences and perspectives of players past and present, alongside those invaluable insights into intriguing business themes that transcend beyond the boundaries of sporting heroics. Be sure to set your reminders on your Alexa or Google Home device. Or we won't tell anyone if you still use those paper calendar things from a bygone era. Join us next time for more inspiring dialogue with scintillating minds on the PowettPlay podcast.